Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to the weekly edition of Daily News Simplified, where we take up the week-long edition of the Indian Express Explained section along with the Sunday edition of the Hindu newspaper. Articles lined up for today's discussion are displayed on your screen, and the time stamping along with the notes in PDF and Word format are given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on page number 7. Now, in the DNS previously, we have already conducted the Quad in length and breadth. We have talked about the different issues, consequences, significance, and the way forward with respect to Quad. What we are going to do today is we are going to analyze this article with respect to the Malabar exercise and how Malabar exercise is going to be analyzed with respect to Quad. Now, recently, Navy chiefs of India, Australia, Japan and US, that is 4 members of Quad, have met and exchanged views on further enhancing the interoperability. And this is going to be conducted with respect to the Malabar multilateral naval exercise. Now, the first thing that you should keep in mind is that it is a naval exercise. I want you to comment in the comment box where Malabar is located in India. Now, for the prelim examination, let's talk about the Malabar exercise first. Malabar is a multilateral war gaming and naval exercise. So, it is a naval exercise. Other defense forces are not involved. It started during 1992 and discontinued later on. However, it was expanded in 2007 with more members. So, it started with India and US, and later on Japan, Singapore and Australia came up. Later on, it came down to 3, where India, US and Japan were conducting. Japan became a permanent member in 2015, and since then 3 members have been regular partner. Now, when Australia left it for its own strategic concern, in 2020, Australia came back again after the persuasion from US side as well as the assurance from Indian side. So now there are 4 members and all of them are part of Quad. Quad is a strategic group looking into the security concerns with special targets to the Indo-Pacific area. Now, Quad and its naval exercise Malabar both have a larger consequences and positive for India and might be negative repercussion for what China is trying to play in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, Australia has already been frustrated with the policies of China in the South China Sea and the southern part of Indonesia. On the other hand, US has also been irritated by a Chinese move in Central Asia because India was looking forward to be a pivot to Asia in the Central Asian region. But through Belt and Road initiatives, China has already made inroads into the Central Asia all the way to Russia and Eastern Europe. And that's how all these like-minded countries, because China has always been an arch enemy to Japanese security. So all these 4 countries are like-minded with respect to the threat of China in Indo-Pacific and Asia-Pacific region. Hence, they came forward and have been conducting the Quad along with the Malabar naval exercises regularly since then. The aim of the exercise is to increase the interoperability of different naval forces. That means whenever they come together, they try to enhance the interoperability. That is how they can cooperate during the wartime. As far as significance is concerned, so the best significance of Malabar exercise is that all these 4 countries can easily counterweight the Chinese military presence and its political influence. Now, Xi Jinping has entered into the 3rd phase of his political career. He is going to be more aggressive as far as strategic and military expansion of China is concerned. Now, for that matter, India being a less economic power, India being a less military power requires external help. And with the help of these 3 large democratic and military powers, India can easily counterweight China in this regard. The second point is that it goes against any Chinese attempt to impose its hegemony. As we have seen what China was doing in case of Ladakh, making inroads into the Galwan Valley. As we have seen, many soldiers lost life on the Indian side as well. And that's how China was becoming more aggressive on Indian soil. Now, being a Malabar exercise, it clearly shows that there is a larger defense partnership, deeper defense engagement between the Quad members that can stand easily against any Chinese aggressive instance. International order is also shifting towards the Indo-Pacific. US knows this, and Australia has been very proactive in this regard as well. So the coming of large powers such as US towards Indo-Pacific has also shows that now Central Asia has lost the relevance vis-a-vis what South Asia and Southeast Asia holds. Such kind of exercise definitely provides the power projection in the Indo-Pacific that will ultimately secure and save the sea lanes of communication, because over 40% of international trade passes from the northern part of Indian Ocean. So this security of trade is important for India as well as its geopolitical partners. It is also a union of democracy. As we have seen, all the 4 members are the democratic countries and they are going by the wishes of the people. And wishes of the people lies in the stability of the region, and that is the reason why Malabar exercise becomes more important. And the last one is that US does not want to go for the bipolar world again, which it has faced with Russia during the Cold War, which ended in the early part of 1990s. So all these reasons have made the Malabar exercise more significant than ever before. But it is not good sign for China. China perceived Malabar exercise and Quad to be an attempt to counter and contain China's interest in Indo-Pacific region. It has already strongly objected and warned against any provocation made to Chinese strategic instance in the Indo-Pacific region, and also warned that it might lead to the confrontation and tension in the near future. But as India's and Quad membership's power as well as economic strength is far more than of China, China is not going to take any unilateral action against these members. So what should be the ideal way forward? The first one is that New Delhi should explore and deepen every international alliance rather than just focusing Quad as a one-stop solution. More focus on defense preparedness should be taken rather than to just go for anti-China stance. Just by looking Quad as an anti-China initiative or Malabar as a power projection, India should look for more defense preparedness. And how India can do that? Through Malabar and Quad, India can capture the latest technology enjoyed by Japan, Australia and US for of course. And the last one is that there is absolute reliance on US that India is focusing on as far as Quad is concerned. India should avoid that. India should try to diversify its absolute alliance or reliance on the defense partnership. As we have seen, India has already stated that Russia is going to be the all-weather defense partner for India. Although it does not go with the alliance India is sharing in terms of defense with US, however, it is a good initiative because India does not want to make itself too dependent on US imports on defense sector. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on Science and Technology page and talks about the vaccine trial with respect to the Ebola virus in Africa. Now, Ebola virus is a very well-known virus to have a lethal consequences on the human race. The period of 2012 to 2016 has seen a gigantic outbreak in the central part of the Africa where over 11,000 people lost their life because of this virus. Ebola virus outbreak that began in Uganda recently after the confirmation of a case in Mubande district, where at least 130 people were called to be infected, have raised the concerns once again. But this time it is not about the Zaire strain. Now, Ebola vaccine, which has been developed with respect to the containment of Ebola virus, has been targeting 2 strains. The first one is Zaire, which is also the name of Democratic Republic of Congo, and the second one is with respect to the Sudan strain. These are the 2 different variants of vaccines targeting the 2 different variants of this virus. As far as first is concerned, so Zaire strain vaccine has already been developed, it is in practice and it has been rolled out to contain the virus. While on the other hand, the Sudan strain, the vaccine has already been tested and it is yet to be launched for the public use. So it is not in practice right now. Now, from the UPSC's perspective, as UPSC has already asked the question in the prelim examination with respect to the Zika virus. In the same line, we are going to discuss about the basics of Ebola virus today. Now, Ebola virus is also known as Ebola hemorrhagic fever. So, as it is known as hemorrhagic fever, it affects the blood of human being. It is transmitted from the wild animals to the humans and then further from human to the other human. The mode of transmission from animal to human could be the blood, secretion, organs or other bodily fluids infected animals such as fruit bats, which are also known as the natural host of this disease. First, this virus was discovered in 1976 near the Ebola river, and that is how this virus was named as. And this Ebola river lies in the Democratic Republic of Congo in central part of African continent. Apart from fruit bats, chimpanzees, gorillas, monkeys and even the antelopes and porcupines are also found to have been infected with the virus. As far as human to human transmission is concerned, so Ebola virus spreads via direct contact to the infected person and not by the indirect means. For example, the malaria virus is not from human to human. There is a medium. There's a vector which is responsible. But in case of Ebola virus, it is not the vector. It is not the mosquito who transfer the virus from one person to the other. It is direct contact. So it may be because of the broken skin or the mucus, blood or any other body fluids. They might help in the spread of the virus. Symptoms are straightforward, but the one important thing is internal and external bleeding, which might also lead to the death of a person. And that is the reason why it is known as hemorrhagic fever. As far as diagnosis is concerned, so previously the most relevant and the most sought after test was ELISA, which is antibody capture enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. Now this test is widely used across the world. I want from you to comment that the same test is used for which other important disease. The second test which is also used, which you must have heard about, is RT-PCR or reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. And the same RT-PCR was also used during the COVID-19 detection. As far as basics are concerned, so this is the basic knowledge which you should know with respect to the Ebola virus and could be asked in the upcoming prelim examination. With this status done, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on page 12 and talks about India's planning to end child marriages. Now recently there was a hue and cry with respect to the National Family Health Survey and its data published with respect to the child marriages. Now child marriage refers to the marriage to which either, please understand, this is not gender biased. It is either of the contracting parties is a child. Now marriage is a contract, as you know. So either of the contracting party is child or both of them are child, in which male has not completed 21 years of age and female has not completed 18 years of age. So if a male is, let's say, 20 years old and female is 17-year-old, that is going to be called as child marriage. However, that male member is going to be eligible for the voting right. And this is the topmost issue with respect to how adult is defined in India. Now, as per the Indian Penal Code, now children are getting involved in the heinous crimes in which they are now termed to be adult for the age of 16. Now 16 for crime, 18 for voting and 21 for marriage has now created an issue in the entire country. Now, today we are going to discuss about that how the data have been showing the trend of child marriages in India, how the prohibition of child marriages is taking up in India, whether the planning is ending in the right direction or not, and if we are going to reduce down the age with respect to the marriage or equalize the age of male and female by increasing the age of female, is it going to bring the positive impact to the child marriages in India or not? So as far as National Family Health Survey is concerned, India as of now have 24 million child brides, that is 2.4 crore females in India who were married at the age younger to 18. So according to this survey, 40% of world's child marriages takes place in India. It was around 47.4% in 2005 and 6, which is almost like half of the females in India were getting married before the age of 18. This has reduced down in just 10 years to 26.8%, and in next 5 years it reduced down by almost 3.5%. As you can see, the last 5 years have been quite limited in respect to the success on reducing the child marriages prevalence, and gradually it is going to be lesser and lesser because of the base effect. Now reduction from 23.3% to let's say 5% is going to take time, but here the largest section would be with respect to the tribal reduction. Tribal practices in India and especially tribal states in India have been showing the largest prevalence of child marriages at the age which is very, very young. For example, in states across India, girls are more subjected to child marriages than boys. And in majority of the cases, tribal states have shown the largest share of child marriages. For example, it is around 32% in the state of Jharkhand. But there is a good sign. Some states like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, which shares one of the highest populations of tribal even in the absolute terms, have shown a good sign of improvement. There was almost 9% decrease in the percentage in Madhya Pradesh and almost 10% in the state of Rajasthan. And all these have proved to be very, very promising. Now, when we talk about the reasons for poverty, now these are the basic reasons. If a question is asked with respect to child marriages in your GS paper 1 in society section or even in GS paper 2 with respect to the vulnerable section, these are the possible reasons which you can write. Now, as far as poverty is concerned, so poverty is very high in India. As far as multidimensional poverty index is concerned, so still a large section of India's population is under poverty, and it is in some of the states it is even higher till the 20%. That is 1 out of every 5 member is under poverty. Then comes the patriarchy setup, where it is considered that if a girl is married at a young age, she will be secure in the society, or if she is not married, she will be subjected to the social issues and even social ostracization. Then comes the social mobility. So movement of a single girl child from a place to the other, even for the employment or for the education level, is very, very limited. Social setup in India is such that movement of a single girl child or movement of an unmarried girl is considered to be taboo, and it goes against the familial rules. Then comes the insecurity among the family members and the parents. They does not want her girl child to go and have relations of their own. Avoiding share in the ancestral property, because as she is going to become an adult, she might ask or might go for the demand of share in the ancestral property. So getting her married and putting her in the hands of her husband would prevent any such demand. Dropout ratio and low literacy rate among the tribal sections of India is one of the most important reason behind the child marriages, because girls in Indian tribal regions are not enough literate to identify pros and cons of child marriages. They are not exposed to the international literature. They are not exposed to the higher level of human development. So they are not able to make a balanced decision at their own. Then comes the legal conundrum. So as we have talked about, there's an issue with respect to the age. Different age in different laws makes it more cumbersome to identify the child marriages. And the top of all, the most important legal aspect is that a child marriage can only be cancelled if the contracting party complains within a stipulated time. So government cannot cancel a child marriage on its own. The consequences of child marriages are as follows. First is the poverty. Child marriages are linked to the higher household poverty. Taking out girls as child bride, take away their access to education, limit their opportunities to even earn the income. So when they are not earning the income, the family income remains limited only under the hand of a male member, and that's how it ends up in the poverty regions. Then comes the hunger. So poverty ultimately leads to the hunger. So children born to the adolescent mothers are having more possibility of being stunted and wasted. They have low weight at birth also. According to the National Family Health Survey 5, it is almost 35% even in 2021. And the last one is that there is a gender inequality. Because of the higher share of patriarchy in Indian society, there is gender inequality and gender biasness in which the child marriages often lead to poor health of females, no education at all, and limited employment ability. It has rarely seen that a child bride is going to get the education in their in-laws' house. So what are the biggest problem? The biggest problem, the challenge to the prevention of child marriage is the confusion of what is the legal age. And the second is the public perception. So today we are going to discuss more in detail about this confusion and what government has done, what different committees have suggested in this regard, and then we will look into the way forward with respect to the public perception.
As far as legislation is concerned, in order to increase the age from 18 to 21, government will go for amending some of the marriage related acts, which include Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, Special Marriage Act, which is constituted in order to provide marriages to the people belonging to different religions. It will also amend some of the provisions in Hindu Marriage Act and other in order to bring a uniformity. This could be seen as a first beginning towards providing the Uniform Civil Code, which is mentioned in the Constitution under Directive Principles of State Policy. The different laws in India which deals with the age of marriages are as follows. Under Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, a child is defined as a person if a male not completed the age of 21, if female age of 18. The Special Marriage Act also calls for the same ages for male and female. Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929, popularly known as Sharda Act, had this age limited to 16 and 18 respectively. However, in 1978, it was prescribed at 18 and 21 respectively, and it was increased henceforth. For Hindus, the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 was amended and set the minimum age for women to be 18 years. For Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872, the age prescribed to be 21 and 18 respectively for male and female. However, when it comes to Islam, the marriage of minor who is attained at puberty is considered to be valid. Here, age of a person is not a matter of consent. So the consent of marriage is limited to the puberty of a girl child. When it comes to the report submitted by the committee, well, this committee was headed by Jaya Jatin, and this committee was constituted to examine the matters related or pertaining to the age of motherhood. Basically, this committee was not there to examine whether a woman should be allowed to marry at 21 or not. The committee was looking into the matter that if a lady is married at the age of 18, 19, 20, is that person capable to go for motherhood? Because once a girl is married at 18, it is most likely that she will get pregnant at the age of 19 or maybe at the age of 20. So this committee was formed to look into the matter that whether a woman at this young age is capable to bear a child or not. If yes, how? And if no, how? This committee also looked into the measures to lower the maternal mortality rate and improve the nutritional level and related issues. So committee has suggested that there should be a decision to increase the age of marriage of girl, but not with the consent to reduce the population but to empower the women. Because at the age of 21 or even above that, a woman will be more empowered. Most specifically, she will be empowered on the basis of education. Because by this age, a woman would be educated or would be a graduate. The committee also went into the finding the correlation of age of marriage and the motherhood with respect to health, medical well-being, nutritional status and others. The committee also looked into the parameters such as IMR, MMR, total fertility rate, sex ratio, child sex ratio and others, which we have already discussed in the previous DNS. The committee on its recommendation has highlighted from the data submitted by the National Family Health Survey, and they have shown that India's total fertility rate is already decreasing, which is a positive sign. The committee has also argued on the basis of the data that India has attained a total fertility rate of 2.0 for the first time, and this is shown by the NFHS 5. But the real concern lies in the fact that the same survey shows that the child marriage over the period of last 5 to 6 years has come down only 4% in India, despite rising the education of women and despite rising the health indicators of women in the country. So why the child marriages are not showing the result or desirable result in the country is a matter of concern, and this is one of the reasons why government is also thinking to increase the age of women to improve her empowerment. Now the point is, why government and the committee is looking into this matter? Well, there are certain problems with the children who were born to mother of younger age. A study which was conducted by IFPRI in 2019 shows that children who were born to mother between the age of 10 to 19, which is just nothing but a teen age, and these children are more likely to be stunted than the children who were born to a more elder mothers. These children will have 10% more higher prevalence of low weight. And because of this, IFPRI has suggested that there should be a proposal to increase the age of first marriage, age at first birth, and girls' education in order to improve empowerment of women and her health. Now, what are the challenges that government may face while increasing the marriage age for girls? The first issue is the issue of criminalization. So once government increases the age to 21, it will further expand the criminalization and backdoor marriages of girls without the notice of the government. And this was suggested by the National Coalition for Advocating for Adolescent Concerned on the behalf of 21 NGOs. Most of the places in India, especially the rural background, does not have enough services as far as education and healthcare is concerned. Let us assume that there is a village which has a secondary school or a senior secondary school till 12th grade. Now, a girl who has just passed 12th grade at the age of 18 will go without education because she does not have access to college education in the rural areas. And most of the families in the country are so orthodox that they will not allow a girl child to move to a far places or to an urban towns to get more education. And this will further deteriorate the cause of women empowerment. So what we require? Well, according to many NGOs, we require awareness. Awareness through media, awareness through education, awareness through health, awareness through schools and colleges and many other sources in order to tell the people that they should not get their girl child to be married soon because of the health concern, and let their girl child to be empowered and then get her married. The way forward says that legal changes are a welcome step, but they are not the magic wand. They will not change the entire scenario, but they will definitely bring a mental makeup changes in the population of the country. Hence, it should be accompanied by the social reforms to improve the education, healthcare for the adolescent girl in India.
So now we come to the way forward of public perception. The first thing is we should go for moral education in the school itself, right from the, let's say, upper primary class, right from the 6th standard. Students, especially girl child, should be taught about the morality with respect to the child marriages. Pros and cons should become part and parcel of the school teaching. Legal aspect should be included in the school curriculum. Societal support is required. Mass meetings at village level. Role model awareness is required where people of NGOs can move from village to village. They can showcase that how females in Indian society have shown the right path of empowerment and development. They can take the examples of, let's say, top IAS officers, top political leaders, important Indian scientists. They can take the example of even the sports personalities. And role model awareness will help in generating more empowerment among the female child. And the last one is door-to-door awareness, especially in those tribal districts where the child marriage prevalence is very high. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Indian Express appeared on 2nd of November and talks about how Russia has pulled out from the Black Sea deal. So we are going to talk about the Black Sea deal. the entire consequences of event and how they have shaped globally. On 24th of February this year, that is 2022, a conflict came to an existence which saw a major escalation of Russia on the Ukraine through a full-scale invasion. And under this invasion in the last 9 months, what we have seen is that Russia was able to capture majority of the eastern and southeastern part of the Ukraine. Now, when this happened, Russia tried to capture the coastal area of Ukraine, as you can see on the map. So, Sea of Azov was completely militarized by Russia, and they have tried to control the trade in the Black Sea region from Ukraine ships. Now, whatever export and import Ukraine is having through the water is going through the small strait at Istanbul, which connects the Black Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Now, from this region, Russia was trying to control the Ukrainian ship going out to provide food to the world. Russia and Ukraine are the top exporters of wheat in the global market, and the moment there was a hit of this war between these two countries, there was a sudden rise in the wheat prices at the international front. And that's how India ended up gaining some benefit on the international trade of wheat. Now, because of this international escalation of events, humanitarian assistance of food, especially wheat, going to the African countries came under the danger. So what happened? United Nations, through a multilateral approach, along with Turkey, as you can see in this map, Turkey is an important part in this front because entire trade of Ukraine on food front is going all the way from Turkey. So Turkey, along with the United Nations, mediated a deal, and this deal is known as Black Sea Grain Initiative. The initiative was only to transfer the grains, that is food items, from the Black Sea, and this initiative included that Russia would assure a safe passage of food vessels all the way from the Black Sea. As you can see on this map, this is the exact passage that Russia will allow without hindering any movement on the military front. But the point is that Russia asked for no military use of the corridor because it was anticipated that the same corridor can be used by Ukraine to gain weapons from NATO countries. In order to avoid that, Russia made a deal agreeing that there will be the assurance of the food passage without any military use. So all the four partners agreed, but recently Russian president has suspended its participation in the agreement, that is on 29th of October. But on 2nd of November they have rejoined it. Now what would have happened if they had suspended the participation? Again, there would have been the larger increase in the food prices, especially the wheat at the international front. Now India is going through the Kharif season, hence there would have been limited supply even on India's side in the wheat market, and this might have jeopardized all the programs running to fight hunger in the poor Asian and African countries across the spectrum. Now as Russia has rejoined the initiative or this deal, things have settled down now. With this discussion please, let us now move to the next article for the day. This Indian Express Explained article was published on 31st of October and talks about that how RBI has not been able to control the inflation. Now retail inflation in September was around 7.4%. As you must have seen in the past DNS that we have discussed about the Monetary Policy Committee, where we have said that the benchmark for Monetary Policy Committee is the 2% of inflation and the highest threshold would be 6%. So this is the comfort zone of Monetary Policy Committee with respect to the inflation. As it crosses 6% or goes below 2%, it become a matter of concern. In this diagram, as you can see, inflation has already crossed the average target set by the MPC at 4%, and it has been above since then in majority of 2020, 2021 and this year also. And all this because of the setback that Indian economy has got under the COVID-19 crisis. Now, after the end of the COVID-19 crisis, there was a sudden rise in the demand which was not being able to met by the supply sector. Hence, there was a demand and supply scarcity along with the high oil prices at the international front, and the Ukraine-Russia crisis has also added further fuel to the fire, causing the higher inflationary pressure. Now, according to the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, if Reserve Bank fails to meet the inflation target, as you can see from this table, yes, 7.4% is far more than the target of 6% of the Monetary Policy Committee. So RBI has failed to meet the inflation target in 3 consecutive quarters, that is in the last 9 months. In that case, RBI is required to provide the following information. The first one is why RBI has failed. The second is what remedial actions it supposed to take in this regard, and an estimate of the time period within which the inflation target shall be achieved by RBI. So RBI was told by the government recently that please take initiative to control down the inflation from the monetary policy. So today we are going to discuss about the pros, cons and balanced approach with respect to the inflation target of RBI to control the higher rise in the prices. So let's start with the background first. In 2015, the Reserve Bank of India began the inflation targeting, and this was under the monetary policy framework, which got the statutory backing under the RBI Act. And through this monetary policy framework, RBI became the sole authority along with the Government of India through the discussion and deliberation to decide what should be the ideal rate target for the inflation. Now, government has decided along with the RBI that the bandwidth of inflation should be 4% plus minus 2%. That is, the maximum should be 6% and the minimum should be 2%. Now, a curious mind should think that why not government is targeting the zero inflation? Why do we need inflation at 2%? Or why don't we need inflation beyond 6%? Why this is a range which is being adopted by the government? Now, the point is, very high inflation and very low inflation actually hurt the economy to a larger extent. That is the reason why 2 to 6% is considered to be a moderate rate of inflation in India. Now, why government says that high and low inflation hurt the economy? Now, let's discuss the first. If the inflation rate is high or beyond 6%, what will happen? First of all, it will become unaffordable for the poor person to buy goods and services. Higher prices will hurt the purchasing power of the poor section, and they will be denied with the basic goods and services, including the basic food items. It will decrease the saving because as the prices increases, the real income falls. So as we increase the prices, ultimately the real income of the consumer fall. Now, what is the real income? Real income is the income which we get after reducing the inflation. So that real income will fall, and that lower income will reduce the saving potential of the citizens. Lower the saving means they will demand less. So let's say a person or a family was planning to buy a house, but because of the higher inflation, their monthly expenditure has increased. As their monthly expenditure has increased, now they do not have savings to get a loan and buy a house. So what they will do? They will delay or cancel out their demand in the short term and in the long term. Lower demand simply proves that there will be low investment. So now as they are not demanding the house, they are not getting the home loan, the person who is constructing the house, the real estate sector, will not invest money in the real estate sector. If people are not building the residential buildings, if the investors are not there, then ultimately there will be no jobs available in the construction sector. If jobs are not there in the construction sector, there will be fall in the production of goods. Let's say the cement, the steel, and ultimately there will be the scarcity inflation. Scarcity inflation simply means that when the cement production has reduced because of the low investment and low demand, then the sectors which are in the demand of cement will find cement to be a scarce good. and they will pay more to get the cement, and ultimately prices of cement will increase. So it's like a cycle, inflation leading to the inflation. It will increase the import dependence of India. So higher domestic prices simply means that you are going to import it from outside. So if food prices in India are higher, if wheat prices in India are higher, then the flour manufacturer will import the wheat from outside India. And ultimately, it will increase the current account deficit on India's balance of payment. And lastly, it will increase the fiscal deficit of the government. Government is now looking to provide more benefit to the people. They are spending more, they are getting less. When they are getting less and spending more, higher fiscal deficit will definitely lead to the impact on the interest rate and ultimately hurting the economic stability. However, lower rate of interest, let's say less than 2%. Why this is not good? Lower inflation simply means that the producer, the manufacturer who are spending to produce something are looking for higher prices on their product. So they are incentivized. When prices are low, they are de-incentivized to produce something new. Similarly, lower prices simply proves that government will have low revenue on its account. Low revenue means they will invest low. Low revenue means there will be low jobs and they will fall in the GDP. And the same is applicable even to the private sector also. Private sector, let's say there's a company, cement company. Now they are getting low revenue. So low revenue means they will have low profit to invest. So they will not demand more people in the cement factory. And ultimately the GDP of cement will fall. So given this basic discussion, let us look into what are the basic benefits and the limitations of inflation targeting in country. Should we go for it or should we not? The first one is that moderate rate of inflation promotes the economic stability and development that we have already seen. Enhance the transparency and the predictability. Now, whatever RBI is planning through the Monetary Policy Committee to target the inflation is now transparent. They are giving the arguments behind that targeting and their predictability has increased. Now, how this has done? Now, we know that RBI is targeting the inflation between 2 to 6%. It simply means that when the target is breached, let's say the inflation is 7%. Now, we can predict that now RBI will take the strong policies, the tough monetary policy. And when the inflation is below 2%, it simply means that RBI will have the easy monetary policy. So the predictability of monetary policy becomes simple. Then there is the consistency. It simply proves that if the inflation is at, let's say, 10%, so till it reaches the 6%, we can see that there will be the consistency in the policy of RBI. So consistency simply means that here the RBI will be focusing more towards reducing the inflationary rate, and in that manner their policy will be harder on its approach. It matches the autonomy of RBI with its accountability. Now, RBI is accountable to the money market and the overall financial sector in the country. So, controlling the inflation is the first objective of RBI. So, it is meeting the accountability, and RBI is deciding on the rate of interest through various policy rates such as repo rate, reverse repo rate and others. It simply means that RBI is using its autonomy power. The last one is that we have the empirical evidences used in United Kingdom and even in the New Zealand for the monetary policy framework to control the inflation, and that has been very successful. On the other hand, there are certain limitations. The first one is that RBI is not the only organization to look into the inflationary pressure. Government is also responsible through the fiscal policy to control the inflation. Apart from that, RBI is also holding many multifaceted role. It has to monitor and regulate the money market. It has to monitor and regulate the banking sector. But as of now, it seems like that RBI's sole objective has become to control the inflation. As we have learned through the global financial crisis of 2008 and 9, there is no major linkages that when we control the prices, there will be financial stability. No, such issues was not there. There was a financial instability in 2008 and 9 during the global financial crisis, because of the subprime crisis in the United States. Next comes that it cannot control the supply side inflationary pressure. For example, there were the crunches of goods and services during the COVID crisis, or there might be the wastage of food product during the monsoon season. All this cannot be controlled through the monetary policy framework. And the last one is the low inflation does not ensure higher GDP. As we have seen between the decade of 2011 to 2020, that despite the best of its effort, despite achieving the lower inflationary rate of 2 to 3% at number of times, there was no sign of higher GDP growth. So if government and RBI is thinking that through controlling the inflation, they can actually increase the GDP, they are not completely correct. Now with this discussion place, let us now move to the last article for the day. This article of the Indian Express Explains section was published on 5th of November, that is yesterday, and talks about how governors can be removed from the office. Now DMK leader T.R. Balu has urged all like-minded member of parliament to support their proposal to the President Draupadi Murmu. Why? To remove the Tamil Nadu governor R.N. Ravi from the office. Now, the friction between the legislative members or the chief minister with that of the governor is an age-old phenomena in India. Governors have been called to be acting on the whims and fancies of the central government, be it any party at the center. The moment there is a contrasting political relations between the center and the state, there has been the conflict between the chief minister and the governor. And the same has been seen in those areas where the BJP is not being ruling. During the case of 1970s, when Indira Gandhi was ruling at the center, the same was seen in those states where non-Congress government was ruling. So as we have said that this has been decade-long conflict between the chief minister or the state executive with that of the governor, because they have termed governor to be the agent or the puppet in the hand of the center. Now UPSC has asked the same governor related issues multiple times in the preliminary examination. So as you can see, right in 2017 twice, followed by 2018 and even in 2019, governor and his different functioning along with his provisions are part of UPSC's prelim examination. So we'll discuss about how the governor can be removed and what are the different suggestions being forwarded by the judiciary and different committees. So as far as constitutional provisions are concerned, so constitution talks about the appointment and the term of office of the governor, but does not talks about how governor is going to be removed. Now as member of parliament from Tamil Nadu are thinking of suggesting the president to remove the governor from the office, it is considered that governor is working under the pleasure of the president, under his hand and seal. Now pleasure is not being defined in the constitution, and pleasure here simply means as President of India enjoys the power on behalf of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. It is the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister which is responsible to define what pleasure to the President means. If the Prime Minister and his council is not agreed with the functioning of a particular governor, irrespective of how long that person has served in a particular state, that person will no longer be associated as a governor and will be removed by the President. So Article 155 of the Constitution talks about that there will be a governor to the state appointed by the President under his warrant of hand and seal. The next article says that the term of the office of the governor will be based on the pleasure of the president. However, this is going to be at maximum of 5 years, but governor can be reappointed again after the completion of 5 years. Now, as pleasure is not defined in the constitution, as pleasure is open to the interpretation by the Council of Ministers at the Union, it has been seen that most of the time governors at the state where the ruling party is not the same party as in the center, the office of the governor has been seen to be misused. Now, why we have been seeing the increasing confrontation? The first is that there is a conflict, friction between the non-BJP ruling states with the governor. Now, governor is an appointed person. He is not elected. He or she holds the constitution office. They are the constitutional head of the state executive. They are the nominees and the agent of the center. Why center? Because they are under the pleasure of the president, who is actually enjoying the power given by the Council of Ministers through aid and advice. The second increasing reason for the confrontation is the interference of governor in the state administration. We have the case of Karnataka, we have the case of West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and previous cases such as in the Pondicherry. Now, as far as removal are concerned with respect to the governor, it is based on the whims and fancies of the Union Council of Ministers. So whatever the Council of Ministers think, they can aid and advise to the president, and president ultimately remove the governor. Even if the DMK member of parliament requests the president, president cannot take the action without aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So despite the proposal given to the president, president does not have any discretionary power in this regard to remove the governor from the office. Although it is not mentioned in the constitution that the Council of Ministers will be responsible for the removal of the governor, however, it is the precedence what we see. In two important cases, the first one is Surya Narayan Chaudhary versus Union of India 1981, and in BP Singhal versus Union of India 2010. It has been observed that even the judiciary has agreed that president has all the powers based on what aid and advice is given by the Council of Ministers. So in the first case, the High Court of Rajasthan has said the president pleasure is not justiciable. So it cannot be brought question in the court of law. So pleasure of president can be enjoyed any time to remove governor from the office. In BP Singhal case, it was said that president can remove the governor any time without assigning any reason for the removal. So president is not required to remove the governor from the office with any notice or any explanation given to that. And the same is applicable to reinstate a particular person or not to remove a particular person from the office. However, in the second case, Supreme Court has said that such kind of decision to remove or not to remove should not be arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable in any manner. Now, the point is why such a constitutional office was created with more tilt towards the power enjoyed by the center. The first reason is that the Constituent Assembly through their debates has said to prevent the territorial integrity of India, it is important that there should be some constitutional head which should represent the power of the center at the state, so that state may not go against the territorial integrity and unity of India. For example, if governor do not enjoy the absolute power and the backup from the union government, there might be a conflict that governor might side with the state government and can go against the order given by the center. This would again bring more conflicts between center and the state, and there will be more issues than the resolutions on the federal relations. So, Sarkaria Commission has said that governor should not be removed before the completion of 5-year tenure until and unless there are certain rare and compelling circumstances. However, Commission has not clearly defined what these rare and compelling circumstances should be, but yes, this should be followed as a precedence. And whenever there is a new political party which comes to the power in the state, there should not be the arbitrary removal of the governors. And when there is a change in the party at the center, the same should not be followed, because this goes against the federal setup and the smooth functioning of the state administration. With this discussion, please, now we come to the end of today's Daily News Simplified. Thank you.